The year was 1984. On the surface, horror belonged to franchise powerhouses like A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Children of the Corn. But just beyond the marquee titles, another story was unfolding. This was a year where slashers thrived. Experiments in sci-fi and supernatural horror took bold new turns, and international productions delivered unforgettable shocks. Strange settings, inventive kills, and unnerving ideas gave 1984 a flavor all its own, one that went far beyond the blockbusters. Tonight, we're stepping back into 1984 to explore 10 overlooked horror films that prove some of the genre's best surprises lurk just outside the spotlight. The Initiation, 1984. For Kelly Fairchild, college life takes a dangerous turn when she pledges a sorority. The initiation ritual seems simple enough. Sneak into her family's department store after hours with her fellow pledges. But what begins as a prank-filled night of bonding soon twists into terror, as a killer stalks the girls through the mannequins, escalators, and shadowy aisles of the store. At the same time, Kelly struggles with recurring nightmares and buried memories that may hold the key to the bloodshed. Directed by Larry Stewart, The Initiation mixes the glossy atmosphere of a campus slasher with the suspense of a psychological mystery. Daphne Zuniga, in her feature film debut before Spaceballs and Melrose Place, delivers a layered performance as Kelly, while veteran actress Vera Miles, forever remembered from Psycho, adds a chilling presence as her mother. The department store setting becomes a character in itself, a maze of reflective surfaces and empty spaces that heightens the tension. The kills are staged with creativity, but it is the unraveling of Kelly's past that gives the story its sharpest edge, culminating in revelations that set it apart from more straightforward slashers of the era. What makes The Initiation stand out is how it balances slasher thrills with family secrets and dreamlike unease. It offers blood, suspense, and a surprising emotional core, proving that even in a crowded decade of slashers, some films manage to carve their own memorable identity. Rats, Night of Terror, 1984. 100 years after nuclear war has devastated the Earth, scattered survivors roam the wastelands in search of shelter. A gang of scavengers stumbles upon what looks like salvation, an abandoned scientific facility stocked with supplies. But their relief turns to horror when they discover the place already has occupants. Swarms of hungry, mutated rats that are faster, smarter, and far deadlier than they imagined. Directed by Bruno Mattei under one of his many pseudonyms, the film embodies his trademark blend of pulp and shock. Ottaviano Dell'Acqua and Massimo Vanni lead the cast of hardened survivors, their bravado quickly crumbling as the rats tighten their grip on the group. The production leans heavily on sheer numbers, dozens of writhing, squealing rodents flooding rooms, climbing bodies, and swarming victims in ways that feel chaotic and relentless. The set pieces are outrageous, from grisly attacks in dark corridors to close-up shots of teeth sinking in. Mattei keeps the pace fast and brutal, pushing every scene toward excess. And just when the film seems to have gone as far as it can, it delivers an ending so bizarre and audacious that it redefines the phrase last-minute twist. What gives Rats, Night of Terror its staying power is its sheer audacity. It is unapologetic, wild, and gleefully over the top, a post-apocalyptic nightmare that doesn't hold back. For fans of Italian exploitation cinema, it remains one of the most infamous and unforgettable entries of the era. C.H.U.D, 1984. In the depths of New York City's sewer system, something unnatural is stirring. When homeless residents begin disappearing, photographer George Cooper and his girlfriend Lauren stumble into a mystery that refuses to stay underground. Alongside them is soup kitchen worker A.J. Shepard, played by Daniel Stern, who knows more about the tunnels than anyone would like to admit. Together they uncover the terrifying truth. Toxic waste has created creatures known as cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Directed by Douglas Cheek, the film makes brilliant use of the city's grit and decay, turning darkened tunnels and abandoned stations into hunting grounds. The cast brings surprising weight to the outlandish premise, with John Hurd and Kim Greist grounding the story while Daniel Stern adds both humor and urgency. The monsters themselves, with their glowing eyes and grotesque forms, may not have had blockbuster budgets behind them, but they remain unforgettable for their presence and design. The attack sequences are staged with energy, building suspense as the line between the city above and the menace below begins to collapse. What makes C.H.U.D stand out is its willingness to embrace the bizarre and run with it. It is equal parts urban nightmare and monster movie, filled with memorable characters, strange turns, and imagery that sticks in your mind long after. Sole Survivor, 1984. Denise Watson escapes death when a plane crash leaves her as the only survivor, but survival comes at a price. Haunted by visions and stalked by silent figures, she begins to realize that fate itself has been cheated. And it will not be denied. One by one, accidents and encounters close in, as if the world around her is conspiring to finish what the crash started. Directed by Tom Eberhardt, later known for Night of the Comet, the film takes a restrained approach, trading gore for a creeping sense of inevitability. Anita Skinner carries the story with a raw, vulnerable performance, supported by Karen Larkey and Kurt Johnson as those caught in the pull of her unraveling life. The imagery is stark and unnerving. Strangers watching from a distance, long stretches of silence broken by sudden violence, and moments where Denise's fragile grasp on safety seems to shatter without warning. What makes Sole Survivor stand out is its unsettling theme, that death is not something you can outrun. Long before later films would explore similar ideas, it crafted a story about inevitability, memory, and dread. Quiet, eerie, and haunting, Sole Survivor lingers because it suggests that survival itself can be the cruelest fate of all. The Mutilator, also known as Fall Break, 1984. What begins as a harmless fall break turns into a nightmare when college student Ed Jr. invites his friends to his family's beach house. The group expects a weekend of relaxation, but lurking in the shadows is Ed's estranged father, driven mad by grief after a tragic accident years earlier. As night falls, the reunion becomes a blood-soaked reckoning, with the friends caught in the middle of a twisted family vendetta. Directed by Buddy Cooper, The Mutilator is pure mid-80s slasher excess, remembered for its outrageous creativity in staging kills. Special effects artist Mark Shostrom, later known for his work on Evil Dead 2 and Phantasm 2, delivers some of the decade's most shocking gore sequences. From boat propellers to fish hooks, everyday seaside tools become instruments of horror in scenes that leave a lasting impression. The cast, led by Matt Mittler as Ed Jr. and Ruth Martinez as his girlfriend Pam, bring a surprising sense of sincerity to their roles, grounding the story even as the violence escalates. Their performances make the horror personal, turning what could have been just another body count film into something more unsettling. What makes The Mutilator stand out is its unflinching blend of camp and brutality. It is messy, audacious, and unforgettable, with a tone that veers between playful and grotesque. And with its bizarrely cheerful theme song, it captures the strange contradictions that make so many slashers of the era fascinating. The Mutilator may not have had the polish of its bigger-budget peers, but its willingness to push boundaries secured it a lasting reputation. It is a cult favorite for fans who appreciate slashers that cut a little deeper. Invitation to Hell, 1984. Matt Winslow thinks he has found the perfect life. A new job at a cutting-edge tech company brings him, his wife, and their children to a polished suburban community. But there is one catch. Everyone insists that the family join the local country club. At first, it seems like harmless peer pressure, until Matt realizes the club is hiding something far more sinister, and membership might cost his family everything. Directed by Wes Craven, the film delivers suburban horror with a supernatural twist. Robert Urich plays Matt as the determined outsider, refusing to surrender his principles no matter the pressure. Opposite him is Susan Lucci. Unforgettable as Jessica Jones, the glamorous and commanding figure who embodies the club's temptations. Joanna Cassidy and Soleil Moon Frye round out the family, adding both warmth and vulnerability to the story. The imagery is striking. Ordinary streets and manicured lawns give way to fiery visions, glowing gateways, and a climactic descent into a hellish dimension that pushes the boundaries of a made-for-television production. Craven uses suggestion and atmosphere in place of gore, proving that dread can come just as easily from what we imagine as what we see. What makes Invitation to Hell memorable is the way it twists the comforts of suburban life into a trap. Beneath the polished smiles and promises of success lurks a nightmare that feels inescapable once you've stepped too close. Silent Madness, 1984. A clerical mistake at a psychiatric hospital sets a killer loose, his release covered up by administrators more interested in hiding the error than protecting the public. His path of violence leads straight to a college sorority, where the young women inside become the next targets. Psychiatrist Joan Gilmore, played by Belinda Montgomery, discovers the truth and goes undercover to stop the murders before it is too late. Silent Madness stands out as one of the few slashers of its decade shot and released in 3D. The film embraces the gimmick with gusto, staging kills and shock moments designed to jump off the screen. From weapons lunging forward to sudden bursts of violence, the effect adds a unique spectacle to the standard slasher formula. Belinda Montgomery brings strength and determination to Joan, a heroine who refuses to let bureaucracy stand in her way. She is matched by veteran actress Vivica Lindfors, who commands every scene as the menacing Dr. Kruger. Their performances elevate the story beyond its body count, giving the film a sharper edge. The sorority house setting provides classic slasher tension, darkened hallways, tight staircases, and frightened students with nowhere to run. The kills are imaginative, but it is the conspiracy element beneath them that gives the film its identity. What keeps Silent Madness memorable is its mix of exploitation thrills and committed performances. It is equal parts lurid and inventive, a slasher that delivers both spectacle and atmosphere. Dreamscape, 1984. Alex Gardner has a rare gift, the ability to step into other people's dreams. He has spent most of his life avoiding responsibility, using his psychic skills for quick money and cheap thrills. But when he is recruited into a secret government project, Alex finds himself exploring dreamscapes filled with beauty, terror, and danger. What begins as an experiment to help patients confront their fears soon reveals a darker purpose, one that could weaponize nightmares themselves. Directed by Joseph Rubin, Dreamscape is a genre-bending mix of science fiction, political thriller, and horror. Dennis Quaid brings roguish charm to Alex, a reluctant hero learning to use his abilities for more than just himself. He is joined by an impressive supporting cast: Max von Sydow as the project's brilliant yet conflicted scientist, Christopher Plummer as a government figure with his own agenda, and Kate Capshaw as a sympathetic researcher who becomes Alex's ally. The dream sequences are where the film truly shines. Collapsing landscapes, surreal distortions, and primal fears come to life in vivid, unsettling ways. The most famous creation, the monstrous Snake Man, remains one of the most iconic nightmare figures of the 1980s, a grotesque vision that terrified a generation of late-night viewers. What makes Dreamscape memorable is its ambition. It takes a pulpy premise and pushes it into bold, imaginative territory, balancing thrills with moments of genuine unease. Strange, stylish, and unpredictable, it is a film that lingers long after the credits roll. Mutant, also known as Night Shadows, 1984, brothers Josh and Mike Cameron are just passing through a quiet southern town when trouble finds them. A barroom fight, hostile locals, and strange illnesses set the tone, but nothing prepares them for what lies ahead. The townspeople are changing, their skin blistered, their bodies twisted, turning into violent zombie-like creatures with an unstoppable hunger. As the infection spreads, the brothers are caught in a desperate struggle to survive and uncover what caused the outbreak. Directed by John Bud Cardos, Mutant blends zombie horror with small-town paranoia. Wings Hauser commands the screen as hot-headed Josh, while Bo Hopkins brings gravitas as the weary sheriff who becomes an unlikely ally. Their performances give the film an edge that rises above its modest production. The setting amplifies the terror. Fog-choked back roads, creaking barns, and abandoned fields, all drenched in an atmosphere of isolation. The infected are brought to life with unsettling makeup effects, pustule-covered faces, and staggering movements that make even familiar townsfolk terrifying to behold. What sets Mutant apart is its fusion of horror and science fiction. The roots of the plague lie not in the supernatural, but in something disturbingly human: the consequences of tampering with chemicals in the environment. It creates a horror story that feels as much cautionary as it is chilling. Though overshadowed by bigger genre titles of its era, Mutant delivers atmosphere, memorable performances, and a sense of doom that lingers. Blind Date, 1984. Jonathan Radcliffe, a hard-living advertising executive, thinks his life is over after a freak accident leaves him blind. But when he agrees to take part in a radical medical experiment, he's given a second chance: a computer-linked device that allows him to see through electronic imaging. What seems like a miracle soon turns into a nightmare when Jonathan starts witnessing violent murders through the system, realizing a sadistic killer is on the loose. Directed by Nico Mastorakis, a filmmaker with a flair for blending genres, the movie combines elements of slasher suspense, giallo-inspired style, and early cyber-thriller paranoia. Joseph Bottoms brings a raw intensity to Jonathan, while Keir Dullea, best known from 2001, A Space Odyssey, plays the enigmatic doctor behind the technology. A young Kirstie Alley also makes one of her earliest appearances, adding both charm and intrigue. The film stands out for its striking imagery: glowing city streets bathed in neon, distorted computer vision sequences, and killing staged with sharp, unsettling precision. Mastorakis leans into voyeuristic tension, pulling the audience directly into Jonathan's fractured perspective. What makes Blind Date memorable is its fusion of science fiction and horror, exploring how technology meant to heal can also expose hidden dangers. It's stylish, unnerving, and just strange enough to leave a lasting impression. A cult oddity that mixes futuristic ideas with classic murder mystery chills. And there you have it, 10 films that show 1984 wasn't defined solely by its biggest hits. Beneath the franchises and the box office darlings, there was a wealth of creativity waiting to be discovered. These movies may not have had the reach of Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees, but they endure through their atmosphere, their imagery, and their willingness to take risks. They remind us that horror thrives in the shadows, where strange ideas find room to grow. For even more discoveries from the era, visit our online VHS store at ejectmedia.etsy.com. And remember, always be kind and rewind, because every movie is someone's favorite.